We'll go ahead and get started. I think we've got most of the technical things worked out, but it's always a bit of a trick with PowerPoint and Zoom. I'm going to go through some slides first, really briefly, just to sort of orient everyone, and then we'll do questions and answers about what's available for registration for people in our certificate in the fall. So, like I said, I'm going to give a very brief overview of sort of what we're trying to do in the certificate. And of course, this is the sort of the schematic of the whole Masters of Public Health curriculum here at BU. Everyone has completed the core. We're working on the red piece now, the interdisciplinary graduate certificates. Everyone has to do the practicum, that light blue slice, and the integrative learning experience is part of the certificate as well. And of course, there's also career prep, which is that kind of faint gray shading on the bottom and over on the right. So these are all things that need to be completed to get the MPH. And in terms of our core, that was 16 credits. You've all been through it, so we don't have to dwell on that. The certificate, our certificate and the other functional certificates are all based on a 16 credit set of courses and are focused on developing a skill set that will help you with epidemiology and biostatistics. Some of you have also elected to do context certificates, and those will have more of a subject-specific focus. You can do a context certificate in addition to the functional, but you need to do the functional. So there's several ways people can fulfill the requirements for the MPH. The sort of accelerated program is this first bullet, the 16-month one. So that's really 3 academic semesters and the summer. The 2-year program is 4 academic semesters and probably includes a summer as well. And then people who take the program part-time will do it in 3 years or more. And we have some sort of basic ways you could do it. This is our schematic for the 16-month accelerated program to complete the certificate, in which case if in the fall you took the core courses, in the spring then you'd be taking the first 2 courses for our certificate, and then in the fall you would complete 2 additional courses, and we'll talk about what those courses would be. If you're taking an additional functional certificate, you'd have to get some of those courses taken care of as well. Also, if you have a context certificate. This is sort of what the 2-year program could look like. There's a little more flexibility in terms of when things happen. You can see in this diagram here, the practicum is sort of spread out, not only over the summer, but into the fall and potentially into the spring as well of the 2nd year. You could set it up so you take additional credits, especially if you want to take electives in epidemiology or biostatistics with the 2-year program. And this is sort of one way a 3-year program could go. There's a lot of flexibility in terms of how it's done, but generally for a part-time student, they would take the 2 of the core courses first, complete the core in their 2nd semester, and then start moving into the certificates, especially the functional certificates. And just to remind you, career prep is a mandatory requirement for the MPH. It's 0 credits. And generally, for people in our certificate, I encourage them to make sure that they take care of this in the 2nd semester. So if you just completed your 2nd semester, hopefully you've done this. It's just that it's an additional thing to have to deal with in addition to the ILE, especially if you're going to be trying to graduate next fall. In terms of the practicum, it's required for any MPH from our school and really any other school of public health. it requires 240 hours, so it's a substantial time commitment. Most students will do this over the summer. And of course, the integrated learning experience is the sort of the last piece for the certificate, and this is done in students' final semester. So once you submit an application to graduate, then that triggers registration into the ILE. It's not something you can register before that. And in fact, once you submit that application, then you're automatically put into the ILE. Like the other functional certificates, we require 16 credits in the Epi and Biostats certificate. You can see you've got a total of 48 credits in to complete the MPH, 16 of which are taken up by the core. So that leaves you with an additional 16 credits, which can be another functional certificate. It could be one of the context certificates. It could be electives. So that last set of 16 credits is much more flexible. And of course, also you have to do the practicum, the ILE, and it's not listed here, but also the career prep. Now for our certificate in particular, you can sort of break the credits. You need 16 credits into a couple blocks. So the first block is that foundational block, or the top block. And that would be really the first course in biostatistics, the first course in Epi. Both of those are 4-credit courses. And for the biostatistics side, hopefully many of you have taken it already this semester, but it would be either BS 723, Intro to Statistical Computing using SAS, or BS 730, Intro to Statistical Computing using R. On the Epi side, it's Epi 770. Many of you, if this is your second semester, are completing those courses now, which leaves you with the other 2 blocks. And usually these are the last things people complete either in their last semester, or if they're here for 2 years, then over the last 2 semesters. And the first is the study criticism block. You need to take 4 credits, and these are mostly courses in epidemiology, though there are a few. I think there's an MCH course, there's a global health course, which satisfy these as well. The data analysis course is the last block, and you need 4 credits in a fairly short list of biostatistics courses. And again, the study criticism and the data analysis are often what people will take in their last semester. So we've talked a little bit about the first part here, the required certificate courses. And again, hopefully many of you have already are in the process of taking those anyway. So there's 4 credits of study criticism. There's quite a long list of courses, so they're not all listed here. But we can certainly, if you look at the bulletin, there's also a course listing up on the website for the Epi-Biostats certificate, which has all the courses listed there. On the data analysis side, the eligible courses to take are 805, 820, 835, 851, 852, and 858. I should say not all of these are available in the fall. 820, for example, is only offered in the spring semester. So it's going right now. So it's not something you could select for the fall. And we'll talk a little bit more about what these different courses are in just a minute or 2. Hopefully most of you have already sort of been through this, but in terms of choosing R versus SAS, it sort of depends a little bit on what you're thinking you're going to do post-graduation. Are you thinking about working for large organizations which have great financial resources, in which case SAS is usually a good choice. If you're thinking about working internationally or maybe with smaller organizations, maybe R, which is freely available, is a better choice. So I don't think we have to go into a lot of detail about these pairing options, but you can do up to 2 functional certificates in your MPH. You can do a functional and a context, or you can just do 1 functional certificate and take a lot of electives. And if you're especially interested in Epi and Biostat, that last alternative, taking a lot of electives, is often a very good one to do. For some of the certificates, you can double count up to 4 credits, as long as there's courses that sort of would satisfy each of them. If that is the case, then that opens up a little more elective credits for you to take. In terms of what's available for fall 2020, if you're a full-time student, and assuming this is your 3rd semester coming up, you probably should sign up for one of the study criticism courses and one of the data analysis courses listed here. As I mentioned earlier, 820 isn't available in the fall, so it leaves you with these others. Also, make sure you apply to graduate. That will be important, partly because you can't do the ILE without doing that, and the ILE is required. And certainly if you're only doing the Epi-Biostats certificate, you're not doing another functional or context certificate, then you have your choice of electives, either in Epi or in Biostat or in other departments. So what questions do we have? You can unmute your mics or computer audio and let us know what your questions are.
Hi, I have a question about, it's kind of a specific question, but so I started in the spring of this year, and
the
volume's off.
Okay, right. Sorry, 1 second. I gotta adjust the computer audio. I need to get out of this to do that. There it is. Got it. Okay, sorry.
Can you hear me?
Now I can.
Okay, so I started in the spring of this year, and so I'm looking into taking like Intro to SAS, and it's offered in the first session of the summer. But given the current situation, I'm signed up for it. But if it turns out that it's going to be online or something like that, I would prefer to wait and then take it in the fall. But basically my question is, like, could I sign up? It might be a registrar question also. Could I sign up for it for the summer and in some way make sure that I would be able to get in the fall if I have to change my plan?
I think that is possible. I think you could register both for the summer version and the fall, but and then cancel out of the one that you don't want. But you probably should check that with the registrar's office.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, one thing I wanted to mention also about the fall semester. We have this new course, BS 835. Which we're offering, and it's intended especially for people who are in the accelerated program. So if the fall is going to be your last semester, if you want to only take 4 credits of data analysis, in particular, it's a good choice. It will include a lot of the material about epidemiologic studies that's included in 852, but also a little more programming than what's there. So it gives people a chance to do a little more programming than is available in 852. It's in some ways, it's an attempt to put 852 and 805 together. In the past, we've had students take both of them at the same time, but that's really not something we recommend. They're both very intensive courses. And so this 835 is a way to put some of the more important pieces of each of those 2 courses together in one package. If you were going to take 805 and 852, I would recommend doing that if you're thinking you're going to be a two-year student. So you could take one in the fall and then one in the spring. But I wouldn't take them together at the same time because that's really a lot of work.
Mike, this is Bernie. Can you hear me?
Yep.
A few questions have come through the chat, and I know that Kelly's been responding to them, but I think we should just make sure everybody knows. Do you register for graduation the last semester? From Catherine. And Mike, do you want to respond to that?
Sure. So you mean when do you apply to graduate?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean that's right. So when you're pretty sure so if you think this fall is going to be your last semester, you can submit the application to graduate. Generally, I don't think the registrar is going to do anything with it until after the semester is over. But they basically just need to look over your transcript and verify that you can graduate in the following semester.
Great. And Yilin asked, some courses in study criticism part cannot be found in registration. Does that mean they are only available in spring? I'm not sure I understand the question. Mike, do you?
I think the question is, it's a pretty long list of study criticism courses, and I think not all of them are offered every semester.
Okay.
So I think they're looking in the registration materials, and maybe what they're looking for isn't being offered in this fall. Yeah, I mean, I think the answer to that question is not all of those courses are offered every semester. So yeah, it's certainly possible that if you're looking for a particular one, it maybe isn't going to be offered this fall. If you have specific course numbers you want to ask about, we can check, but it's likely the case.
I have a quick question. My name is Sue, and I'm a part-time student, and I'm hoping to do 2 functional certificates. I'm not sure yet, though, but I'm wondering, is there any possibility, like if you do 2 functional certificates, you must do 2 separate integrated learning experiences?
No.
No.
Oh.
No, it's one ILE, and you get to choose which certificate you want to do it for.
Oh, great. Okay. And then just a follow-up question, is it realistic to do the ILE along with 2 other courses? Like, do people do that during their final semester? It's not like, okay, cool.
Yeah, it's usually people are, taking, well, up to 16 credits in their final semester, and they do the ILE. So yeah, it's certainly doable.
Great, thank you.
So I have a question about the data analysis courses. Can we take multiple data analysis courses? And then I guess as a follow-up, if that's a yes, would you recommend that we do that if we're really interested, or?
Well, I guess I would say if you're looking to graduate in the fall, is that the case?
No, I'm gonna graduate in the spring.
Oh, okay. So that gives you, I mean, you could take one a semester, for example. So I'm less worried about overloading in that setting. So you could certainly do 805 and then 852 or whatever combination of data analysis courses you would like. The one thing I do want to mention, again, this is related to that 835 course, which is new. It has a lot of overlap with 852 in terms of the concepts and the content. So you can't take both of them for credit. So if you want to take 852, don't take 835.
So what are your thoughts on 805 and 851, if you have any?
That's fine. I think that's fine. 851 is the clinical trials oriented data analysis course, and 805 is kind of it's sort of our more, it's an intermediate level programming course. So there's a lot, it's definitely a step up from the level of programming in 723, which makes it quite intensive actually in terms of homework and exams and all that, because it is very much more programming oriented, which if you love programming it can be great. But if programming is something that you're a little more tepid about, you maybe don't want to do that one. But it certainly is very, you know, if you're interested in being a SAS programmer, then 805 is definitely the course to take.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, quick question. Is there somewhere where we can find like a paragraph with course descriptions?
Yeah, if you go to the school bulletin, or even actually what I often end up doing is doing doing a Google search of BU SPH, and then say biostatistics courses or something like that. You can, you know, they will have the courses listed. There is a descriptive paragraph to go with each one, and it will tell you what the prerequisites are as well.
Okay. And then I also have another question. So I am actually a dual degree student with the School of Social Work. So I'll be finishing social work this semester, and I'm in my last core this semester. And then I'm planning to take one more year, and basically just finishing all my context and electives next year. So I guess I was just wondering, as of right now, I'm planning on taking the two like foundational intro to Epi and then BS 723 next semester, but I'm kind of a little lost into like how else to.
Sorry, so you're taking the core course next fall?
No, I'm finishing my last core this semester.
Oh,
so
okay,
I'm done with the
got it,
course,
got it.
And then
Okay.
I'll have 2 semesters to finish my functional certificate and my electives.
Yeah, so you're exactly right. You want to take the foundational courses in the fall.
Okay.
So either 723 or 730 for biostatistics,
Okay.
and in Epi 770.
Okay.
And then, you know, you would take your data analysis course and your study criticism course in the spring semester.
Okay.
What were you saying about the?
Oh, that I put the course descriptions on the current students page.
Okay. So, okay, yeah. So there have been some updates to the course descriptions. They're going to go up on the current student pages, and Kelly will send out a link in an email to all of those following this. Other questions? I think I might be hearing someone, but I can't.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Sorry. There was a specific course I was interested in. It was an advanced Epi course with Dr. Fox, EP854, and I haven't really been able to find it in any other lists that were specific for like the functional certificate. Do you guys know anything about that? Like where it might fit in terms of credits, or if it's an elective?
EP864.
Bernie, do you know that course?
Yeah, no, what's the name of the course? It's Advanced Epi?
Yeah, it was an advanced Epi course. The exact title of the course, I don't remember what it is, but I have it written down, and it was with Dr. Fox.
Yeah. I am sure, first of all, I'm sure it would count as part of the elective, but I think you might need to check to make sure that you have the prerequisites to get into that course.
Okay, yeah, I would be taking it for my 3rd semester. So
Yeah.
I've already taken, well, I'm taking the not the Epi Concepts course right now, and I'm also in the SAS course at the moment.
Mm-hmm. So my advice is contact Dr. Fox directly.
Okay.
Very accessible on email. He's great. Just tell him what courses you've taken, when you're interested in taking his course. When is this course offered?
For the fall.
It's in the fall?
Yes.
Yep. Just ask him. I don't believe this sounds like it might be a course that's offered for either, you know, advanced master's students or doctoral students. But I would ask him, tell him who you are, what you've had, and is the course open to you?
Sure. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions? Anything on the chat?
And by the way, I'll just add, Dr. Fox, as it turns out, received the entire School of Boston University's Outstanding Teacher Award this year.
Oh, he did. I
So
hadn't
yeah,
heard that.
so of something like 4,000 teachers, he was considered the best at the university. So it was pretty an amazing, very amazing thing for us in the School of Public Health. So there you go. Any other questions?
There's a couple of questions in the chat I noticed.
There are.
I only see the study criticism and graduation application question.
Where's the chat here?
So do you know if there are classes on cost effectiveness analysis being offered in the fall?
Not that I'm aware of.
I don't know. And again, I think the best thing to do is to go on the list. This would be a course that would be in health policy management and law, HPLM. I would go and look to see if there are courses, what courses are offered there. And sometimes it indicates on the summary of the course when it's offered, but it usually provides a contact person for that course, and you should feel free to contact them. Or you could always contact Mike or I, and we would be happy to look into it and find out a little more information about it. But you need to give us, I would first search to see what courses there are on cost effectiveness analysis.
Right. Yeah, and you may want to take a look at the potential courses first before.
Mm-hmm. Mike, Xin Yang asked, would you recommend to take 805 with 835, or would that be too intense?
I think it would be fairly reasonable to do. It certainly would, you know, you'd be getting a lot of biostat. I think it's doable, but, you know, I don't think 835, I mean, it will have programming, but I don't think it's going to, one of the things about 805 is just that the homeworks are very, students find them to be very time consuming. And, you know, it often takes a while to get your program to run and do what you want it to do. So people can find it very intensive. So I don't think 835 will be, you know, doing programming at that same level. So I think doing them together is feasible.
Okay. And another question asks, what are the differences between BS 852 and BS 820?
820 is specifically about logistic regression and survival analysis. And so basically, you know, if you think of our standard class structure, we have 14, you know, class sessions. So really 7 of them are logistic regression and 7 of them are survival analysis. I think in 852, they certainly do talk about logistic regression. They do talk about survival analysis, but it's more like 1 lecture a piece or maybe 2. So there's lots of other things that they discuss, and those are not really the main focus.
Okay. And a question came in that asks, with everything that's going on, do you think, in your opinion, that completing a practicum this summer is going to be realistic?
Oh, I hope so, but I don't know.
Nobody knows.
Yeah.
Nobody knows. And then a question says, would BS 728, the surveillance, or EP 722, data collection methods, be more advantageous to take for someone looking to be an epidemiologist? The surveillance course would allow me to declare an ID context certificate, but I just want to focus more on methods and data courses.
Bernie, you teach one of those courses. So,
I do. What is BS 728?
That's it's a course Laura White does. She gets into basically surveillance. It's not from the 728 is a number basically that doesn't require any prereqs. So if you've had the core course, you can take that class. She doesn't assume a lot of SAS or R. So in fact, she doesn't assume you know either of them. So it's a good course, especially if you're interested in, you know, how disease surveillance happens, which is important for infectious diseases, and we're finding out how important it is in all of our general lives right now.
Yeah. So, and these are really sort of apples and oranges, because the data collection methods courses, which I teach, really gives you a bit of a primer on the collection of data across a wide spectrum of ways. We cover methods around questionnaire development and being able to modify our questionnaires to ensure that we are meeting cognitive appropriateness for the way we design our questionnaires. But it also then gets at a whole spectrum of other ways in which we collect data, using existing data sources to be able to answer research questions, things like ecological momentary assessment, being able to collect data through your app, and then be able to use that both cross-sectionally as well as prospectively. But we also address the issue of recruiting and collecting data, recruiting participants and collecting data through internet-based resources as well. So the idea is to give you a breadth, but not in too much depth, about all the different ways that are available to us as epidemiologists on how to collect data to be able to answer our research questions. So it's kind of a fun course, and we have a lot of guest lecturers that come in and talk about different ways in which data is being collected. And the final is to actually write the data collection methods of an NIH grant proposal. So there's a lot of teamwork in the class, and we have a good time. So there you go. Any other questions?
I do want to put in one last plug for this new course, 835, just as something to think about. It's taught by Tim Herron, who is a really good professor. He's taught most of our courses, and it's a new class. We're really focusing it on people in the certificate, especially those who are very interested in, you know, epidemiologic, statistical analyses for epidemiologic research.
Yeah, he's a great professor. Is it real? Another question: is it realistic to try and take Epi 770 and BS 723 in the same semester?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I think we've had numerous students do that. In fact, I mean, almost every student we've had has taken those pretty much at the same time.
Yeah. Well, if there are no more questions, it's not like you can't ask us questions at any other time.
Right. Yes, so please feel free to contact Bernie or myself or Kelly, and we'll be happy to respond and you know, help you, support you in your decisions for what you're going to take next semester.
Wait, what?
One more?
Any recommendations for enrollment day? I feel like the server.
Oh, here we go.
Feel like the server would get overwhelmed that day. Hopefully our IT resources can deal with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been better recently. I mean, it was you know, it has been overwhelmed occasionally in the past, but not for the past year or two anyway.
And thank you to all of you for saying thank you to us. I'm glad that you found this helpful. That's what we're here for.
Yeah. And this will be recorded. This has been recorded. It will be put up on our webpage, so other people who haven't been here can hear it as well. So spread the word. All right, I'm going to shut down the share now.
All right.
Have a good rest of the day, everyone.
Stay healthy. Thanks, Mike.
Yep. So where is the stop recording? Where you go to stop?